Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. As the race towards the playoffs continues to intensify, tonight it's the final mile-and-a-half race of the regular season for the Northwest Cup Series. Live from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway is the Chicagoland 201, live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me tonight is Greg Rentz. Wesley Outland's in the pits with Will Duvall in the director's seat for this evening's action. Getting all set to go for what's expected to be an intense race, Greg. The last mile-and-a-half track on the regular season's calendar. It's about to get very busy on this racetrack, to say the very least. It's going to be intriguing to see who can come out on top in this one.
And it's a very unique mile-and-a-half oval at that, Justin, because this track is the only track on the schedule that you are never going completely straight. The backstretch is just slightly curved, just enough to where you are not going in a straight line at any point on this track. It's the final half of the mile-and-a-half track of the regular season, and what better way to end it than with the track that you're never going straight at all? It should be fun to see how it goes. We've had some very good races at the sister tracks to this track, Kansas and Las Vegas, but it's going to be interesting tonight with just that little bit of a difference.
You see that right now on the track map, in fact, and you see that an arc down the back straightaway that can end up in turn catching a couple drivers off still, regardless, by the exit of turn 2. And it gets really sharp around here, Greg, and the exit of turn 4. This track has been known for many drivers to slam hard into the outside safer barrier, then pinball into the grass. If you're a driver on that track tonight, how do you plan to adapt?
You just got to roll with the punches and just try to keep your car on the racing surface and just try to keep your car as clean as possible, Justin, because like you mentioned, it's something very slight can happen. You can go off into the grass and all of a sudden you're along for the ride. So these guys have to be very focused on keeping their car on the pavement and making sure they stay out of trouble. And with tonight's distance, 134 laps, that might be easier said than done.
Indeed. As you take a look now at your weather conditions for tonight, currently the air temp is 75 degrees, track temperature about 114 degrees at the moment at this 1.5 mile facility in Joliet, Illinois. These drivers also are going to have to deal with a lot of wind, as you can see. It's currently bouncing up and down about 4 miles an hour at the low point, as high as 8 miles an hour today. Humidity as well around 53%. In sim time is just past 2:30 p.m. on June 21st in sim. Still, though, these weather conditions going to be somewhat difficult for these drivers, a bit more on the slicker side tonight, Greg.
Yeah, it should be interesting with the slipping and sliding. And this racing surface is one of the older ones in the series, Justin. Been a while since Chicagoland was paved. I don't think they've actually been repaved. The track opened in 2001, and I believe we still have the original pavement from that 2001 construction. So with that combined with the heat, they're going to be slipping and sliding as we get later and later into the run.
Let's talk a little bit about how things have shaped up beforehand. Remember, win in, you're in when it comes to the points. As long as you meet the minimum requirements, the drivers who have won so far, Brightsman with 5 victories, Frazier with 3, 2 apiece for Dan West Jr. and Chris White. Jeff Stabno also with 2. He will not be racing tonight, however. Corey Walters, BJ Tidrick, Bruce Weaver, Caden Anderson are among those drivers with at least 1 win apiece. For a track such as this, Greg, if you want to try breaking a victory lane, how difficult do you think it will be, based especially on how everything is fared in these mile-and-a-half races?
It's going to be very difficult, Justin. We've seen some wild mile-and-a-half races unfold here in this series. It's really been the bread and butter of the schedule up to this point. We have 2 visits to Texas. We've had 2 to Las Vegas, and now we're heading to Chicago. We've been to Kansas and Atlanta, Charlotte a couple times. Now it's the final one of the regular season. This one, like we mentioned, unlike any others, so going to definitely be a game of chess here tonight to see how these drivers can adapt to the ever-changing racing surface with the heat and the old racing surface. Track is just opening up for qualifying as drivers meeting is wrapped up, which means we should be seeing some cars on track here shortly.
Yes, indeed, and the car you see on screen, that's Jeff Hagan, is the first car out for qualifying here. Let's bring in our third man in the booth. Also along in pit lane in Wesley Outland. Wesley, Your thoughts on a track like this Chicagoland Speedway on the docket tonight?
Well, a good evening to everybody here in Joliet, Illinois, virtually Chicagoland Speedway. But I have to dispute your words that Justin and Greg were talking about going straight, because there's one place where they will be driving straight, and that is on to the pit lane. But here's the scenario. You got to work hard curving into the pit lane, and you got to be careful curving out of the pit lane. Those drivers and those crews virtually that can make those right pit stop adjustments and play their cards correctly, they could be the winner here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway. Another thing you guys talked about was the wall, hitting the wall, bouncing off the safer wall barriers, sliding down into the infield grass right in front of us here on pit lane. Well, another thing we have to keep an eye on is that long green flag run. If that happens, these laps will tick away very quickly. Looking forward to calling the action on pit lane here this evening from Chicagoland.
Thank you very much, Wesley. We'll speak with them plenty of time tonight as Hagan nearly spins it in 3 and 4. Just about leaned on the right rear tire, kept it straight though. He's currently second amongst the drivers who have qualified. Only 5 drivers have hit the track so far. They have less than 10 minutes on the clock to qualify, up to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:30 p.m. Pacific. That's around 5 minutes left on the clock. You'll see in the upper hand corner of your screen. One of the top drivers in practice tonight, though, was BJ Tidrick, Greg, looking very strong. We talked about his momentum plenty of times. One of the fastest runs on 1.5 miles in a practice, though, entering tonight.
Yeah, and he has been, like we mentioned, strong over the last few weeks, and of course still running on some emotion, losing his best friend J.C. Wofford a couple of weeks ago. Had a very strong run going last week. Following it up again here, like you said, great times in practice up near the top, showing a lot of speed. The Darlington winner coming off turn number 4 right now, taking a checker flag for his first lap. He will go 5th at a 30.645, but he has been very strong over the last few weeks. Justin, a guy who has been very strong today, was fastest in practice and is fastest in qualifying right now. We've mentioned him. He's been knocking on the door of a win. How about Josh Marcy in the number 35? Fastest in practice. He's led laps the last 2 cup races, and here he is, top of the board again.
That's what a 30.073 so far as Tidrick, second time around, tops him. 30.025. You seen on screen, he ran up against the wall and gained a ton of momentum for that second lap around. Dan West Jr., meanwhile, looking to continue to carry his forward momentum this season. He's 5th after his first lap of qualifying. That was a 30.196. Needs to gain a 10.5 to try and get the pole. We'll see if he can get it here. One of the LSR TV machines at the stripe, 30.090, only able to get up to P4.
And remember, he has not gotten any practice laps, so he is turning his first laps of the evening today. Look who just went top of the board, BJ Tidrick in the number 72. Up on top, running on momentum. How about the guy in second right now, Bruce Lee Weaver in the number 40? He was the winner at Michigan on fuel mileage. We haven't seen him a whole lot lately. Made his return to the series last week. He's sitting second on the charts right now. Dan West Jr. just completed his second lap. He will be 5th at a 30.090. So now what he's going to do in his number 55 is turn as many laps as he can for some practice. You take a look now at the guy who was second in practice here at the end. Guy with 3 wins on the season, Seth Frazier with the 32.
Seth Frazier looking to set his first lap times around the track. That was with the 29.863 with some draft in practice. Carl Berkshire also jumped up to 3rd. This is now a 30.636. That's okay. It's about that second lap as we've seen so far, Greg, with this package at some of the tracks, especially Chicagoland, especially what we've seen with Tidrick being able to gain 5/10 on his lap.
So we'll see how the second lap goes for Frazier. Seen it happen. Roy Grande, top of the board. I did not expect that. Oh no, sorry, I had my scoring setup wrong. He's in 5th. 5th was sitting in 1st, and I didn't. Or
Frazier to 7th.
Frazier's 7th, 30.109. Had my lifetime and scoring mixed up. It's still Tidrick on top. Weaver, Carl Burke up in 3rd in the number 53, and he's been knocking on the door also. Justin, he's had some good runs the last few weeks.
He has, and he's actually using this session right now to get some extra practice laps in. He ran a 30 flat about mid-pack in practice. Good track position so far of note. Caden Anderson looking for good track position of his own across the stripe the first time around. Up already to P8 on the first lap. We'll see if he's got the pace for the second. Remember, though, Greg, he cannot afford any bad races. He needs to start every single race, as we talked about last round, to try and get within range to make the postseason on the points, even though he's got a victory. He hasn't reached that cutoff quite yet.
And Justin, a quick also follow-up to that. Remember, where did that victory for Caden Anderson come at? It was at Las Vegas, a sister track to this facility. So we know he's going to have a lot of speed here tonight in the number 37. He goes 7th on the charts, knocking Seth Frazier down, 30.104. Very, very tight qualifying effort here tonight, Justin. The first to 15th positions are all within a tenth and a half of each other. That is impressive.
Chris White now on top of the board with a 30.016. New paint scheme for him sees him now jump onto the board with the baby blue and red machine. He tried a different paint scheme last race, moving the number towards the quarter panel. Somewhat worked in terms of the pace, if you remember back. Also, just so happened to be one of the quickest drivers that entire time at Texas. He now is at the top of the board with about 5 minutes on the clock. 22 drivers have set times. One of them yet to set a time. The man known for a lot of risky strategy calls, Sean Breitzman, in the 46 machine, ran a 30.204 in practice. That, however, was on just 4 laps of preparation.
Yeah, Breitzman did not get a lot of practice in coming around to get his first lap. He's the 24th car to take time, 10th at a 30.120. Justin, we've talked about it. Breitzman's not necessarily a very strong qualifier, but likes to make his way through the field on some strategy. We talked about it a little bit before we went on the air, that we know Sean Breitzman's going to be one to mix it up throughout the course of the day. But good first lap for Breitzman, up in the top 10 right now, the 24 cars to take time.
See how the second time is across the stripe. The Toyota Camry, the LSR TV machine, a 30.75. 0.75 rather gets him up to P6. So decent track position early. Remember, he's had to come deep through the field a couple times lately. It's hurt him in some of the other events. The only other drivers not to set times are Ray Fournier, who has missed every single start in recent months that he's been a part of. Ricky Bozier, who is currently trying to deal with a technical issue. Scott Hutchinson, who left in the middle of the drivers' meeting. And Casey Garber, who came in during said drivers' meeting. So times currently separated from 20th to 22nd here already, Greg, by 0.4 of a second with about a minute to go in qualifying.
Yeah, very close qualifying effort. And like you mentioned, Hutchinson, Bozier just made it back in, like you mentioned. Garber, of course, hasn't turned a lap yet, still trying to get through tech and get everything ready for his run. Did not get a qualifying lap. 24 drivers have taking time here as we're in the final stages of qualifying. And with the amount of time we have left in qualifying, I think right about now, anyone who's going to turn a lap has already been out there. So I'm not anticipating anyone else coming out on track. How about Chris White up on the pole? He's really had a strong second half of the season, Justin, since I switched to Ford.
Been very impressive, absolutely, with some of the speed lately with him, as we talked about ever since he switched to that Ford Mustang a few months ago. Very, very competitive campaign, to say the very least. For those who missed Texas, he was the man who won that race, by the way, in the Texas 210. Minute or so left until the end of the session. As you see, once again, it will switch over towards the grid at about 20 minutes on that clock. Your expectations for this race tonight, Greg?
Going to be a wild one here tonight, Justin. We've seen the mile and a halves have produced some fantastic racing. Have to expect another great one here tonight. And Chris White going to be the man looking like he's going to lead him to the green flag. Casey Garber, he has dropped out of the session, Justin. So some technical issues on Garber's side as well. That's not going to bode well because time has just about expired. I believe time has expired. We will be rolling forward here onto the grid momentarily.
Yes, indeed. It's Chris White who gets to start on the pole tonight. He'll get the chance to speak with our own Wesley Outland in just a couple moments, as we're just about set to head towards your starting grid for tonight's action for the virtual Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois, to see who can win the final mile and a half of the regular season. It's Chris White starting alongside BJ Tidrick on the front row, Bruce Lee Weaver and Carl Burke starting in row 2. It's Joshua Marshy, Sean Breitzman in row 3, with Roy Grande also in the flats along with Dan West Jr. in row 4. The first outside that grouping is Kaden Anderson in 9th. Seth Frazier rounds out your top 10, Greg.
Stephen Paulson will make up row number 6 on the inside with Corey Walters, Frank Harris, Dan Lowther. We're going to be keeping an eye on Lowther. He's been having some spotty internet tonight, so see if he makes it through the whole race. In the 63, he starts 14th. Rodney Goins in the number Threat Johnson to his outside. Kevin Smith, the 00. Kind of an interesting qualifying session for him. Not the speed we're used to seeing in qualifying out of that 00. He's 17th with Daryl Tidrick making his return in the 45. John Ottenbacher and Dan Stussy round out the top 20, Justin.
Rest of the drivers who put in times, Chris Torres, who had a solid debut in the 99. Chris Walters, who's making his debut tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit. Josh Childress came in just in the middle of the qualifying session as well and put up a 23rd position run. Hagan rounds out the qualifying times. Rest of the competitors, Garber, who is dealing with technical issues. Bozer, who didn't qualify. Fournier, who is also not been starting the past few months. Scott Hutchinson, who has been dealing with technical issues, left during the drivers' meeting. Wesley Outland standing by towards the pit lane and on the transponder with your pole sitter, Chris White.
13.016 seconds, a blistering lap around Chicagoland in the Windy City. Chris White now looking for his 3rd win on the Northwest iRacing Cup Series and 2 in a row after winning at Texas. Chris, what a lap in qualifying.
Yeah, it was a good run for us there in qualifying. I wasn't really running too well in practice, but I was able to hit the marks there in qualifying, and here we are, starting up front.
Got everything gelling for you for SimStar. I think I'm going to use the words that Justin Prince just said a few moments ago. As it comes down to the home stretch towards the playoffs, you're really gelling in 83.
Yeah, things so far the second half of the season are really clicking right now, and we're just hitting our marks and keeping up with it.
Things looking really, really good for the driver for SimStar Motorsports. Keep an eye on the Amsoil number 83. That is the pole car. The driver is Mr. Chris White, looking for his 3rd win and back-to-back after winning Texas, Justin.
Thank you once again, Wesley. We'll see how he does tonight as we get ready for 134 laps, 201 miles to be precise, around this mile-and-a-half facility, Chicagoland Speedway. This track opened all the way in 2001. 18 degrees of banking in the turns, 11 degrees down the front stretch, 5 degrees down the back stretch, and don't forget about that gigantic apron that may be used by many drivers throughout some of the runs today, particularly the short run. Greg, your keys to victory tonight.
I think you're going to want to keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble, but track position going to be key. You're going to want to be up front as much as you can because we've seen passing can be difficult with this aero package. 134 laps, long race, track position is going to be key. Tires are going to go away. This is going to be a fun one to watch it all come together.
Indeed, as we're just about all set to go. Ford, Chevy, Toyota, your top 3 rows. Pace car drops off the track. Chris White, ready to bring them to the green flag. We're underway from Chicagoland. And a terrible start for BJ Tidrick, lost several positions after nearly jumping the start. Chris White already up at the front still with Bruce Weaver in 2nd. Look at how far Tidrick fell back, though, Greg, all the way to 7th because of how he mistimed that.
I think he may have missed a shift on the initial start there, Justin. As he's able to gather back up, he's going to get back around Anderson right now on the outside. Top 5 have broken away, single file right now. And battle for the lead already beginning to brew as Weaver took a peek to the outside. Josh Marcy there behind him. Tidrick is able to get back around Anderson. Now he's got his teammate Seth Frazier with him in the slipstream of him. But as we settle things down, I am so impressed with that number 40, Justin. Best qualifying effort of the season for Weaver.
Trouble back straight away. Cars are having trouble in the grass. Kevin Smith in the 00 is cutting through the grass. We stay green, though. He doesn't come back on the racetrack. He hit the wall coming out of turn 2, following the draft of several cars. So not the start he was looking for, as Bruce Lee Weaver stays up towards the front. Marcy still in P3. Carl Burke still in the lead draft. As we'll see how everyone deals with the aero push. Keep in mind, Childress also started from the pit lane. Will also be in front of these cars in just a couple moments. He's been all over the racetrack early.
He's up in front of him. You can see him coming in the windshield of the number 83, who's led all 4, make it 5 laps now. And, we're lap number 5. But he has led all 4 laps that have been completed. But Bruce Lee Weaver, running a Greg Biffle-inspired scheme tonight, is right on his back bumper. But here comes Marcy to the inside. Josh Marcy making a move for second. We talked about how strong he's been over the last few weeks. He's led laps the last 2 races. He's looking for a third one here tonight and possibly that first win.
Good pass on the bottom side as here comes Carl Burke trying to follow suit. Using that shortcut once again on the apron and taking the spot. Roy Grande is also up 2 spots from the drop of the green flag. Your biggest mover so far, Ricky Bozier, by the way, in 17th position. But they've reached that traffic we talked about for Josh Childress, a name we're not familiar with seeing on the racetrack, by the way, Greg, where that 115 machine started from the pits, already is right in front of your race leader by a couple car lengths in one of his first starts of the season.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for him here today, running an Interstate Batteries-inspired paint scheme here tonight, kind of an alternative to what we saw back in the JGR days. But he definitely did not get the start that he was wanting, as he missed grid after qualifying near the tail end of the field. Here he is going a lap down to race leader Chris White already. So definitely not the return that Josh Childress was looking for.
It's his first start of the season, by the way, in 2020 in the Cup Series. He's trying to stay up on the top side right now in that Toyota Camry towards the back of the field in practice and qualifying. This will mean everyone gets the chance to shuffle along to the bottom side as up in the wall goes Childress. Able to keep it up top, though, out of the way of all the other competitors. The first side-by-side just got broken up, too, as Tidrick had to let off the gas trying to battle with Seth Frazier.
Tidrick not having the start he wanted. He's feeling the heat now from Dan West Jr. in the number 55. West Jr. riding right in his slipstream. Here he comes down to the bottom of Tidrick. Drag race to the line, and it was Tidrick barely by a couple 100s that time, but West Jr.'s got the preferred line into turn number 1. Tidrick, after starting outside pole, he just fell to 9th on the charts, trying to come back now after West.
So Tidrick currently struggling on this run so far, already down -7 positions from the drop of the green flag. It's also side-by-side for third up the road, by the way, Carl Burke. Bruce Lee Weaver currently fighting along the bottom of the racetrack near 3 wide as Sean Breitzman follows suit in the purple Toyota Camry.
Yeah, Breitzman's been having kind of a quiet day so far, qualified up in 6th and is currently riding in 5th as he got around Bruce Weaver in the number 40 and actually got around Grande as well. So he has made his way now into 4th position, trying to reel in Carl Burke. Good run for Burke. Remember, Burke had a great run at Kansas earlier this season, had a chance to win that one before a penalty unfolded. No doubt he's looking for some redemption for that. And here he is at a track very similar to Kansas. He has a good shot at that tonight.
Absolutely at this point. Bruce Lee Weaver, though, getting shuffled out a little bit, as you've seen there, as now Dan West Jr.'s gone up to them. BJ Tidrick back on the offensive, and from what we've seen already so far, you need to be on the bottom side if you want to keep moving. If you're on that top, you're likely going to get pedaled on backwards. We've seen this a couple times throughout the season.
Yeah, Tidrick trying to recover right now after that awful start, but he is able to make it work. And Justin, this is a product of the aero package. If you have a bad start like Tidrick had, back in the old days, that would be a death sentence, and you had to work your way through one at a time. But with this draft package or aero package, you're able to draft. I got ahead of myself there. You're able to draft up on the cars in front of you, and you're able to claw your way back in. However, it makes it difficult to pass, so you got to make your moves one at a time to try to set it up. Good effort so far from Tidrick to make his way back up to 7th now.
By the way, in the backdrop, you see Caden Anderson continuing the decline now for Bruce Lee Weaver's 40 machine. He's now all the way back to 10th position. As Anderson now picking up a little pace. He does have a bit of damage, though, in the right front fender, just a touch. Dan Lowther behind him just clipped the apron, is still okay, however. As they all stay in a group, this is about 2.5 seconds nearly behind your race leaders.
So Weaver, after running very strong in the early going, that damage is affecting him, as you see, as he has fallen to 10th. Lowther, we're keeping an eye on him because he's had the connection issues all day long as he's in the process of moving from Oregon to Boise. Internet not exactly set up right now, so he's on a temporary connection. We'll see how long he can last. Looking pretty stable so far. He's up 3 positions, trying to make it 4 now on Weaver. So a nice job in the early stages for Lowther, but he's breathing a little heavy right now as he slides to the apron.
Dan Lowther saves it, though. Just avoids the wall. Stephen Paulison avoids him. We stay green. A dangerous moment for the 63 machine on the racetrack. So he continues going. Should notice well in that grouping we're following along with. Carl Burke let a bunch of people by. He is struggling all of a sudden.
Yeah, he is falling back to 7th. Make it 8th as Roy Grande gets around him in the number 18. So Carl Burke went from 3rd to now 9th on the charts. Problems for Burke, and he may have had a little bit of an incident as well, because you don't see drivers drop like that by themselves. Something may have happened to the 53.
Should note as well, Josh Childress had a crash down the back straightaway on his own. He's now ducked down to the pit lane with the demolished car. He has one faster pair available. As one of the main difficult parts, though, Greg, and I think you can attest to this, is if you run next to the white line in 3 and 4, there's a little bump that ends up pushing you up the track. If you hit any bump with the splitter, especially, Greg, as we've seen at multiple tracks, you're going straight up the racetrack.
And with this aero package, just the slightest bump on the splitter, the slightest bit of damage can be deadly for these race cars. We've seen it time and time again, seen it a couple times already with Weaver and now Burke. The slightest little scuff on these cars can make a long day. So no doubt they're going to be thinking about possibly having to burn that fast repair early. If they can catch a caution, it may be worth it for them if it's still early to bank that fast repair, just repair it manually, because it could be a long time before the rest of the race makes it through. I don't know what I was just saying there. It could be a long day as well, as you can have that happen again early on. You don't want to burn that fast repair that early. So with the slight amount of damage guys like Burke and Weaver may have, worth it maybe to just stay on pit road a little bit longer and get that damage repaired manually. Bank that fast repair for later.
See on screen, Caden Anderson trying to make a pass, and does, on Sean Breitzman. He's now picking up the pace a little bit. His average pace around the same ballpark as the race leaders. The fall off surprisingly massive in the span of 20 laps, though. Some of the biggest we've seen in the short span. Just under 2 seconds of fall off in 19 laps.
That's what we were talking about earlier, Justin. The old worn-out track surface with the hot track temperature right now. It's 111 degrees on the track right now. That's 3 ones. A very hot, slippery surface and a very old racing surface. That's going to account for a lot of tire wear. And we're seeing it as I was watching Roy Grande and Carl Burke. Grande had a big slide going up into turn number 1 that time. And Burke had to check up, and it ultimately cost him as he was trying not to run over Grande. Weaver and now Ottenbacher were able to get around him.
Just shows again, if you make one mistake, congratulations, you're losing positions likely on this racetrack. Like to talk a little bit more about some of the newcomers tonight. We were talking a bit about one man who is fast in practice, but has been struggling in the race so far. An 18 spot, the 51 of Chris Walters. We talked about a little bit about him, Greg, looking to be impressive tonight, was fast in practice, just hasn't found the race pace yet, someone you know a lot about.
Yeah, he's a longtime racer up here in the Northwest, calls Wenatchee Valley Super Oval his home track. Made his first start of the Northwest Series on Thursday in the Truck Series. This is his first Cup start of the season. He's battling with another guy making his debut tonight right now. That was Chris Torres in the 99 going by on the inside. So a couple drivers making their first starts of the season on screen right now, Torres and Walters.
Remember, Torres made a start at Texas. This is his second start for Torres.
That's right. So he did join the series recently, and Torres has been joining a couple of Northwest-based series throughout the course of the last couple of weeks, and he joined another series out of the Northwest that's going to be on LSR TV in October. The iRacing.com Northwest Tour is going to be on LSR TV this season. Chris Torres joining that. Several drivers in this series will be racing in that one. Justin, while we were talking about that, BJ Tidrick has climbed back to third in the number 72.
Where did that come from? Tidrick again fell far back on the short run, but all of a sudden it seems like again he's gained some momentum in the long run. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize is with a fixed setup series especially, it's about trying to save the tires for the long run. You burn up your tires by going full throttle for 5 laps, you're dropping backwards at this point on.
So maybe that was a blessing in disguise, having that little able to save just a little bit of tire as these guys wore it off. Chris White has opened up a 1-second lead now over Josh Marcy, who in turn is a second and a half over BJ Tidrick. So the leaders are beginning to space out a little bit here, Justin. But with as much tire wear as we're seeing here, we're working lap number 25 now. Chris White has led all 24 laps. But with the extreme tire wear that we're seeing, we talked about you can realistically go one stop here, but the amount of tire wear here, do you think anyone's going to try to do it and sacrifice that much in the long run?
I think most people are going to try the 2-stop based on experience, and I think Wesley can attest to this as well, is you don't want to risk staying on the racetrack and then in turn not be able to make it on the field by trying to stretch it, because it takes a fair amount of fuel saving, mind you, to get to the very tip of the mileage. At the same time, expecting lots of tire wear here, Wesley, as we mentioned.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm thinking around the 50-55 mark, we're going to have to see guys come down to the pit lane just only to change tires, but also to take on fuel, because you could possibly conserve your tires. You can serve fuel more than your tires is what I was trying to say. Reverse that. But nonetheless, yes, you're exactly right, Justin. Unless we get a caution here, I think we're going to start seeing around 55, lap 60 guys coming to the pit lane. And again, this is a 134-lap race. Then you stretch it to see if you can go to the finish.
Great point there, Wesley, absolutely, from the pit lane as he watches along. Drivers amongst the front of the field have single filed out and spaced out about half a second to one another. The first pack of cars fighting are still 8th on back, and here's the difficult part with fighting. If you look where John Audenbacher, Bruce Weaver, Roy Grande is, you go back and forth several times, Greg, again, you lose time every time you make a pass in the corner especially. It slows everyone up and drags you back. The more you fight, the more it burns up the tires, and in turn as well also means you're not going faster compared to the other cars. These drivers are 0.3 a lap off the pace.
And with that, the drivers in front of them who don't have to worry about other cars, they're able to drive away because they're that much faster. As things have settled down right now, the first side-by-side battle is all the way back for 12th. Actually, 13th, Brett Johnson and Dan Lowther battling it out. Been a bit since we've seen Brett Johnson in the series as well, as he's kind of missed a few races here and there, but he's back in. He's running 14th right now, settling in behind Lowther after taking a shot at him. Now Roy Grande and Carl Burke having a battle into turn number 1. But you see right there, as Burke and Grande have their battle, that allows Weaver and Audenbacher to drive away. That's what we were just talking about there. The side-by-side battle slows you down, and that allows the guys in front of you to pull away.
And you see right now, Stephen Paulson now also trying to take advantage of the bottom side, and does. Able to make the pass just about in down the front straightaway as Carl Burke runs away. Also of note, Bruce Weaver, John Audenbacher also swap positions in this group. Speaking of driver swapping spots, Keenan Anderson made a pass for 4th position up the road as well for P4. Taking a look at that right there, Keenan Anderson, his average pace in the past 5 laps, quicker than the race leader. His average is the best out of anybody in the last 10, a 31.639 his lap time on average. Quicker than Tidrick, West Jr., Frazier, and Marcy, that top 5 in that listing.
And remember, he won at Las Vegas a few weeks ago, a track very similar to this. We know his mile-and-a-half package is good in the 37 camp, so no surprise to see him making his way up through the field. Started 9th, up in 4th right now. Anderson, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, Justin, he needs to make every race count moving forward to try to get himself in the playoffs. Even though he does have that win, he's not locked in because he missed so many races in the early stages of the season.
Up now, Josh Childress just had a bit more of an adventure down the front stretch, slammed the wall hard, potential axle damage for the 115. We stay green, that was on the front stretch. He is still rolling though, ahead of some of your race leaders. Speaking of the leaders, they're about to reach traffic. The last drivers battling for position on the track are slowly getting reeled in by them. Those drivers are Kevin Smith, Jeff Hagan. Traffic, if you reach them in bunches, may be something tricky tonight.
And we've seen that a few times throughout the series this season, Justin. A driver catching lap traffic at the wrong time, and unfortunately it has wound up costing him a couple times. Fortunately, right now for Chris White, it's still early as we're coming up now on 101 laps to go this time. Still early, and he's got a big cushion over Marcy. 1 car in the grass.
Josh Childress has just pulled into the pit lane. The 115 spun it again and just about missed his pit box. We stay green also in that sequence just about. Ricky Bozier put his car into the pit lane and parked it for the night. Your first DNF, 3 DNSs this evening, Fournier, Garber, and Hutchinson. As we look at Marcy, he's been reeled in by Tidrick and Anderson now.
So Marcy under pressure from Tidrick and Anderson. Frazier lurking back there as well, but he's too far back to catch onto the slipstream right now of Anderson. And Anderson, interesting what he's doing here, Justin, going a little bit lower down on the apron as opposed to Tidrick and Marcy. I thought until he was within striking distance, he would take the follow on Tidrick and ride in his tire tracks until he could get up to, say, here, where he might be able to make a move. It was a little bit interesting seeing him go to the apron that far back from Tidrick.
Seen a bit of a bobble. This is now with the traffic affecting dirty air. Kevin Smith trying to duck in the pit lane. Tidrick takes advantage. 3 wide with lap traffic as Anderson follows suit on the bottom side. Marcy stuck on the top line, and that could have been dangerous. Tidrick now up to second.
I think Marcy may have used up too much of his tires here, Justin, as both Tidrick and Anderson able to drive by using the lap car as a pick. Now they got to go reel in the number 83 of Chris White. About 0.8 of a second back from White to Tidrick that time. We'll see what it is this time, but these tires are screaming right now.
Of note, Kevin Smith coming out of the pit lane, but an update also from the pit lane from Wesley Outland.
Yeah, Kevin Smith on the way to the pit lane, and I also just checked in on the crew with Joshua Childress in the 115 guys, and he has decided to park and call it a night. Here's what happened to him. He bounced off the wall, flat spotted his tires, thought he could save it until he could come to the pit lane, but absolutely could not. This track, this heat is burning the rubber on the track here for these tires, gentlemen. We might see possibility 2 pit stops or more because these drivers are complaining that they're getting really loose trying to handle the tires burning up quickly here at Chicagoland.
Thank you, Wesley. And Childress working, in fact, it seems, with Chris Walters tonight. Not the way he wanted this race to go. Still value of points remembering these groupings such as this because drivers like Corey Walters are looking to try and scrap, all while the leaders are now scrapping. Tidrick's reeled in Chris White. A 2-second advantage is gone. The 72 of BJ Tidrick to the race lead, and Kaden Anderson follows him.
Tidrick to the race lead in the number 72. Lap number 38 goes to the 72 of BJ Tidrick, first driver not named Chris White to lead a lap. Winner at Darlington earlier this season, back out front, racing on emotion in memory of his best friend J.C. Wofford. Meanwhile, behind them as this battle is going on, Seth Frazier has entered the chat. He has gotten around Josh Racine for 4th. Still in the drag race though, bringing Dan West Jr. with him. He will clear Marcy into turn 3. Suddenly, Chris White, who was all by himself, this is now turning into a 6-car battle.
Yeah, and this was a massive cushion, by the way, mind you, that we've seen White have. He's just completely had it collapse in the span of 10 laps. Frazier now right behind him. Anderson already up to second. Dan West Jr. inside the top 5, and Marcy is also starting to fall off. So all these drivers who were having that half a second space while having a dirty air still, yes, save their tires well enough to just start flying, it seems, for this crucial part of the race.
And Marcy and White may have burned up too much too early, but the good news for them is they have pit stops there. As I'm wondering
Bruce
if...
Weaver, you can see it on screen. He also made contact with the outside wall in the second pack for 8th. Went off in the grass, and he's now choosing to take the pit stop a little bit earlier here, Greg. A bit of an undercut force now upon him.
Remember, he had that damage earlier on the number 40, so he will get a chance to get that fixed and get that car back to full strength with the fast repair. Checking back in, Anderson still in second, trying to reel in BJ Tidrick, but Justin, we mentioned it last week. BJ Tidrick, again, he's racing in memory of J.C. Wofford. When BJ Tidrick is driving on emotion, the rest of the field is in a lot of trouble, and we're showing it right now. Tidrick, remember, started second, fell all the way back, almost outside the top 10. It took him less than 40 laps to get back to the lead.
Wesley, pit stops underway, undercuts as well.
Yeah, we've got pit stops happening, and we saw Seth Frazier go to his pit stall, car number 32. He's in the pit lane. Kevin Smith has been in the pits having service done on his car. Bruce Lee Weaver falling a lap down in car number 40 after he had some tire issues is what I was reported. Went to the pits and got some service. And again, I'm wondering here in the next 20 laps when we'll start seeing the rest of the pack come down to the pit lane, and we'll cycle green flag pit stops here for the first time.
And you can see Caden Anderson now applying the pressure for the race lead. He was nearly a full 1/10 of a second quicker last time by. Now it's the tricky part, though, Greg. Trying to build up enough of a run for the corner entry to make this pass. The apron's not as viable of an option, too. You run it at this point of this race, you're likely looping it.
Especially with how used and abused those tires are, Justin. If you hit the apron right now, like you said, you're going for a ride. So Anderson trying to set up a pass, and really he's just trying to pick his spot right now. You see him even peeking high a little bit there in turn number 3 as Tidrick gets away. Anderson's weighing his options right now. Doesn't want to go too crazy, goes inside, maybe setting him up for a reverse crossover here as he goes to the outside now. Peaking high, got to run. Anderson going to make the outside work here. I believe this is the first time we've seen a successful pass on the outside, perhaps. No, he slipped a little bit off turn number 2. Tidrick able to go on defense, but that's the first attempt we've seen at a pass on the high side, and it's not over yet.
Only our driver we've seen that work upon is Dan West Jr. where he gave a squeeze to Frazier. Anderson way up the racetrack in 3, however. BJ Tidrick still holds on to the race lead for now. Bit more of a cushion, now has to reset. More undercuts are going on the way, though. Carl Burke nearly went across the nose of one car to duck in the pits. Dan Stussy, the other driver, who has elected to come down and pit for the undercut once again.
Remember, Burke had some issues earlier. Now Roy Grande coming in on pit road. There's Carl Burke leaving the way of Roy Grande on pit road. He was having a nice run, too. Up around 8th or 9th for most of it. He's coming down pit road.
Yes, indeed, he's already come out of the pit road, indeed, as Dan West Jr. has dived down to the apron and taken away P3, just holds on to it. Now, it's not totally impossible to run down there, should note, but you kind of have to still be careful on the throttle with how the car reacts to the transition. We'll see if it's used by Anderson now by what he's seen in the mirror as he tries to fill the mirror of BJ Tidrick again. 87 go this time by.
He gets a good look inside. He is going to try the apron. See if it works. He led the lap, but I'm not sure he has enough momentum to clear. Yes, he will.
Caden Anderson up to the race lead. Now Tidrick trying to fight back. Most of the drivers behind them are starting the undercuts. Johnson, Audenbacher, Harrison, Lowther pit last time by. If one of these cars pits, they may be able to get another cushion for the race lead with the amount of fall off. None of them have blinked so far. Many of the drivers in the mid-pack, though, are starting to blink.
So we're seeing it here. Seth Frazier, first car, 1 lap down, about a straightaway back of the race leader. He's the first driver on fresh tires. Chris Walters coming down off of pit road right now, so he is pitting. Looks like about 12 cars have yet to pit so far here, Justin. So about half the field has taken the undercut. Like you said, the top 12 still yet to pit. When do they blink?
We're approaching lap 50 as BJ Tidrick blinks. Caden Anderson not able to follow in suit as Tidrick misses the commitment cone.
That's going to cost him huge because he's going to lose a lot of spots here because it's going to take him a while to get back up to speed. Already back to 5th as now Paulson coming up on him. No, Paulson ducking in, so Tidrick is going to fall in 5th here. Not going to be as bad as we thought it was because everyone behind him ducked in, but Tidrick, that's going to cost him quite a bit of time on the track. Fortunately for him, he doesn't lose as much time as he could.
4 seconds is the amount he lost on that initial attempt. He's ducking in this time by. The rest of the leaders now get to come in as well. The only driver who didn't come with them, Caden Anderson. Dan West Jr. also still going on the racetrack, Wesley.
Pit stops underway for the first time, as I said, around 50-55. Chris White, Texas winner, and led most of the first half of the races on pit lane. Joshua Marcy is on the pit stall as well, making their pit stops. It's going to be 4 tires, track bar, and a wedge adjustment on both machines. Tidrick overshot entering pit road. Remember, we talked about that when we came on the air, the way you got to commit. You can't make no mistakes. Luckily, no harm, no foul, no penalty. He was able to keep on the racetrack. Dan West Jr. Here comes the 55 on the pit lane as Walters, Tidrick all begin to make pit exits. Dan West Jr., the 55, comes into the pits. He'll now get ready for 4 tires. Fuel being added. Track bar wedge for Mr. Feelgoods, as our other producer Charles Wooten always says, and get him back down and away. And we're missing a couple of drivers. Justin, Greg, it's not the same looking on the pit lane, and it's not the same for you guys, I bet, in the broadcast booth. Missing the number 5 of son Devin West to Dan West Jr. and the number 24 of the Possum, Jeff Stabnow. Those drivers not able to race tonight due to other obligations. It's just not the same seeing the 5 or the 24 as we get ready for another race to get underway for the continuation from lap 50. And by the way, there's only 4 cars on the lead lap led by Anderson. And here comes Tidrick on the pit lane exit right now. Here comes Anderson now. Anderson will come to pit road, gentlemen. Sorry to cut you off. He's at his pit stall box. Anderson will back her down to the pit road speed limit. This is going to give Torres the lead in the 99 car. Seth Frazier will bump back up to second. Joshua Marcy, Dan West Jr., Chris White, all these cars coming back on the lead lap as Anderson looking for that second win. And as you said earlier, Caden Anderson looking for not only the win, but the points in the top 20 needed to advance to the postseason for the playoffs. Right now, he's still right there on the outside of that bubble.
Thank you very much. And Seth Frazier has already taken the race lead on the track. He's been able to pass Chris Torres by a decent margin. Torres yet to pit. Outside of that, everyone else has come down for their service. And with the undercut strategy, it's a massive margin. Frazier gained Greg 11 seconds with that call. Here's the downside. He's on 10 lap older tires.
And we saw how quick the fall off was on these cars throughout that green flag run. Torres still out there, still chugging along. We'll see where the rest of the field cycles in. And Anderson's going to cycle out 13 seconds back of Frazier, but like you mentioned, 10 lap pressure tires on the 37. So, with that being said, how long can Frazier hold on before the likes of Marcy, West, and White, Anderson, Tidrick, Breitzman, those guys, how long can Frazier hold on? The margin's about 10 seconds back to them right now, so it's already shrinking. How long can Frazier hold on?
Chris Torres has come in the pit. He's the last driver who has to come down for service, Wesley. He's in the box and missed it.
Yeah, big tough there for Torres. He's going to overshoot his pit stall there and lose a little bit of ground. And right now they're going to work on trying to continue. He's got to back up more. I think he's got to back up more, guys. He still is not able to leave the pit lane. Torres's car, I don't know if it's stalled, locked up or something, but he finally is able to leave in that 99 car, and I don't even know what kind of service he had done on that car as, again, Torres has exited. And by the way, gentlemen, from my calculation, they're going to have to pit again. There's no way possible, even if you put him in at lap 55, they would have to come to the pits by lap 110, 115. Everybody will have to make another pit stop unless we get a caution.
So no one attempting to stretch it. Thank you very much, Wesley. As we take a look at Dan West Jr., he's now up to second spot of the racetrack. A little bit fresher tires in the cars he's around right now in Marcy and Chris White. Of note, Kaden Anderson, who has the freshest tires outside of the 99 on the racetrack, is still in P7, but right now is still running a little slower, in fact, than your race leaders at the moment. So in other words, they're reeling him in quick. Seth Frazier has maybe a couple more laps to try and hold on, Greg.
And what Frazier's doing is he's trying to keep the number 18 of Grande behind him. Grande's on fresher tires, but with him behind him like that, Frazier is able to draft a little bit, and it's giving him that much more of speed for that number 32 car, and he's trying to keep him behind him as well as he can. But the problem is West Jr., Marcy, White, these three right here that are reeling them in second through fourth, they are eating into that lead very, very quickly. It's about a second a lap right now.
Yeah, down to already 5.5-ish seconds. So you take a look at West Jr. He's ran away for the air cars. You see them finding the backdrop, though, for third position. Of note, Marcy nearly hit the wall out of turn 4. That set up the pass you see here. Chris White back up inside the top 3. And I'm surprised how much they fell off in the final 20 laps of that run. They had such a big gap of about 2 seconds or so, Greg, then they just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say those tires, they were holding up nicely, and then all of a sudden, kapow, down. And they just had to hold on as long as they could. And we saw some drivers say, you know what, no, I'm coming in now. The likes of Frazier and a couple of others, the guys who pitted early. The rest of the field was able to make it work. So I'm wondering if Frazier is making these pit calls to pit in early. I wonder if that was a strategy of his to try to set this up for the rest of the race and see if the race unfolds the way he needs it to make that strategy work, aka catching a caution, because if he catches a caution now, everybody's going to have to pit. So Frazier might be hoping to catch that caution, which, by the way, I'm impressed that we've gone 61.5 laps without a caution.
This is the cleanest race of the season and the longest green flag run in a long time in this series, if I'm thinking back. Normally, you do not see major long runs such as this in recent months, but this has been astoundingly clean throughout the evening. Drivers giving space, minimal drivers having problems. It's been a good one so far. As should know, Bruce Lee Weaver is out of the race. Dan Stuzzi has also came back down to the pit lane once again for additional service about 10 laps into his stint. He's now done once again after a 56-second pit stop, Wesley.
Oh, yeah, the 78 car, Dan Stuzzi, just been a tough day there for that driver of the Northwest, and he's several laps down. Meyer to the back, currently in the top 22 positions, as he will go back onto the racetrack. Also, just got an update from Seth Frazier. You wanted to find out his strategy? Westman's on the job. I've tracked it down. He wanted to pit between lap 45 and 85. He's efforting. A caution's going to come out before then, but again, look for him to come back to the pits around lap 85, lap 90, and just like everybody else, as I said, they're going to have to pit again, green flag stop, or under caution to go to the finish of this race, but that was his strategy.
Slowly approaching the halfway point, by the way, just a couple laps or so. Again, 65 laps now, just about green flag racing so far. What's been an impressive one, the top 10 separated by 16 seconds. Drivers in the lead lap just 13 so far. What a race by these leaders so far, to say the very least.
It's been impressive here right now, Justin. Closing in on the halfway break. Coming up on this one, 13 cars currently on the lead lap. By the way, one of our viewers watching at home, I know, is celebrating her 13th birthday today. Well, as we click laps away, want to wish a happy birthday to McKenna watching at home. 13 cars on the lead lap for someone who just turned 13 today.
A great happy birthday to her, absolutely. I'm sure she is very much enjoying this race so far tonight. Keep in mind a couple drivers to watch for at this halfway mark. This time by for these competitors, Kaden Anderson is up to 5th, but is still about 6-7 seconds back. BG Tidrick has actually been able to reel in Anderson despite being 4 seconds behind. Remember, Anderson stretched out a little bit further for the tires, so Tidrick now has that draft, may lose some touch at the end of the run, but has been able to get back up to him because of the strategy call Anderson took.
Yeah, it's been very fun to watch Anderson and Titterick battle it out, trying to hang on there with each other. Remember, Anderson on a few lap fresher tires, but like we mentioned earlier, I'm impressed to see how Titterick's able to hang with him with that tire differential, because remember, Titterick came in a few laps before Anderson.
Yes, indeed, as the cross flags up in the air, already down past the halfway mark of this race. If you see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, that deficit for first and second, it's going down in fast by a bunch of numbers per straightaway. In fact, it's now under 0.8 of a second. One lap car in the way, and Roy Grande outside of that. Dan West Jr. has ditched Chris White and Joshua Marcy in line to take that race lead away.
It is under a second, Justin. When we last checked in with that battle, it was 5.5. It is now less than 1. Dan West Jr. showing why those fresher tires are key right now. Seth Frazier right now is just hoping he can catch a caution soon.
The pace is equalized a little bit, but it's still 0.3 of a lap faster for everybody else behind him. About to get interesting. A car just came out of the grass. Kevin Smith stays on the bottom of the racetrack. We stay green, and that's out of the way of the leaders as they all take the high side to stay out of the way.
Yeah, that was right in front of the leaders, so fortunately Smith was able to keep it down low and stay out of the leaders' way. We stay green once again, a little bit past halfway. Frazier, West Jr., Chris White, your top 3 right now. How about Chris White? He is really, we talked about it earlier, really turned it on here in the second half of the season. And once again, another great run, led about 35 laps earlier in the day, still running in 3rd position. He has had such a strong turnaround in that number 83 this season.
Keep in mind that grouping of cars is slowly reeling in behind as well. Dan West Jr. is also starting to let off the gas a touch now that he's reached that Frazier ahead of the field. So we'll see if Chris White tries to push to close up to the top 2. Caden Anderson kept to keep an eye on him. He's still the fastest car on the racetrack and now has caught up to the pack. That includes several lap cars. Just up the road as well is Key 4 and Joshua Marcy. Then our second up the road is Chris White.
So they are spaced out pretty evenly from 3rd on to about 6th, like you mentioned. Brightsman in the number 46 in 7th position. Quiet day, we haven't mentioned his name a whole lot. I figured by now we would start seeing Brightsman take some gambles, and maybe he might try an undercut here for the second half to try to set it up. But Brightsman may be one of those guys today that he might be banking on a caution before he makes his move.
Now we've seen the 2-tire strategy work from before. Remember that drag race at Kansas? That was in fact with Chris White. That was an impressive finish, mind you, in a mile and a half that got him a victory at that time. Hold on to Chris White before White eventually got his first victory of the season at Indianapolis. New race later, you see on the side of your screen, West Jr. made the pass in 3 and 4 on the bottom line. Finally, Frazier sacrifices the lead after a run by West Jr. down the backstretch.
So Frazier giving the lead over to West Jr. after leading about, 20 or so laps that the 32 was out in front there, but we're seeing it now. Those tires really starting to come in. But Justin, here's my question. If Frazier can hang with West Jr. by the time all the tires fall off the cliff per se, would they even themselves out, or is that too much of a difference on those tires?
Based on experience, this is the evening out point, Greg, but it's a massive gap. It's about up to 5 laps, remember. You can be able to equalize the tires and have even pace. It's about 10 for Frazier. So the answer is no, that pace is just falling off too much. We're already seeing it visually on the track. His lap times have fallen off compared to his best laps by 1.8 seconds. Dan West Jr., he is still in the 30.7s as he's now just about ran away from Frazier by a few car lengths.
And Frazier trying to hang on there as best as he can. Remember back at Kansas, I believe it was, Justin, Frazier had the damage on the right front fender, but was able to keep pace with everyone in front of him. Jeff Stabnow was able to pull away, though. But we know when Seth Frazier goes on defense, he can stay up in position. So we'll see how he can do it when the likes of White, Anderson, and Marcy catch up to him. But that's still a little bit away here, as Frazier's hanging in there a little bit by being able to keep draft with West Jr., but West is clicking him down now.
Yeah, absolutely. Frazier just trying to hold on at this point. As soon as he loses about 6, 7 tenths of a second to a second, that's where the draft can be broken up, and that's where Frazier might fall off more. Keep in mind, Anderson is still a good 3.5 seconds behind all this on the freshest tires, and it's just about reeled in Chris White. He's inside the draft of his spot now for the battle for P3. You see them just about 10 car lengths apart.
So spreading out pretty nice now for West Jr. And the more he spreads out, the better it is, because with how far back these other guys are, West Jr.'s going to pull away as Frazier falls into the clutches of Chris White and Anderson. That's going to allow West to pull away even more as soon as those guys start battling it out with Frazier.
Of note, Roy Grande's parked his machine. He is done for the night, pulled his machine into the garage area. Toyota Camry, sponsored by Taco Bell, done for the night. Rodney Goins also pit just recently for his third scheduled stop of the race for tonight. Remember, just 13 cars still on the lead lap for now. The next grouping of drivers who can be lapped are Frank Harris, Dan Lowther, Brett Johnson, who are separated about 5 seconds or so and are just about 25 car lengths up the road from battles such as this you see now for the battle for third still.
Battle for third continuing between Chris White and Caden Anderson. Anderson, we talked about, needs a good points day from every race here on in. Doing exactly that today, Justin. Leading laps, hanging in there with Chris White. But I want to give a shout out to a guy you mentioned a moment ago, Brett Johnson in the number 7. We haven't seen him in a few weeks, and here he is just outside the top 10 in a nice battle with Dan Lowther in the number 63. That's Brett Johnson in the Coca-Cola Camaro right there. Good to see him back. We've been missing quite of our usual suspects here with the likes of Johnson, Weaver, and a couple others. Good to have him back in the field.
Now keep in mind this series does have 7 drop weeks available to its competitors. Fortunate for Johnson, he's now in the fence. Just like that, Brett Johnson puts his right front into the backstretch safer barrier. Dan Lowther avoids him and takes the spot away. So all of a sudden, Johnson now with problems. He's indicated he's coming in potentially in a few laps. That time he doesn't duck down.
Gonna hang out and see what the 7 car is doing right now after the hit to the wall. About a lap ago. We check back in for third. Anderson catching up to Chris White little by little. It's about a tenth of a second now.
Five laps away. Seth Frazier saying he's coming to the pits in 5 laps.
Yes, indeed. Very crucial. And remember, we're inside the fuel window too here, guys.
So Frazier going to try to set it up for the end here. Lap E2. We're closing in on 50 to go here. And nope, make that now. Seth Frazier ducking down pit road right now.
A little bit earlier than that 5 laps from now, Wesley.
Yeah, he's playing mind games with me. But remember, he said it was going to be between lap 80 to 85. So it's lap 83. So he's in the pits now, getting ready to take on 4 tires and fuel, ready to bring this one to the finish. Gonna see if anybody else will follow this strategy. Remember, he pitted way before anybody else did, except for the cars that had problems. Frazier giving all he's got. Oh, yes! In car number 32, ready to take this to the checkered flag. Will anybody pit after him? That's the question. Great pit stop, 4 tires, fuel. He's down and away.
And now currently the first car 1 lap down to the racetrack. Thank you very much, Wesley. He's now back off and away, a bit of a slower stop.
All right, Justin, who blinks? Frazier was able to get a couple of guys to blink earlier and get them off sequence. Doing it again. He is good to go on fuel the rest of the way. Who's going to blink and try to set themselves up now? Leader, Dan West Jr.
Dan West Jr. blinks, Wesley.
Here comes Dan West Jr. He says, I'm going to play possum and follow exactly what everybody else is going to do with Seth Frazier. Other cars under the pit lane will come in. BJ Tidger gets in. Gentlemen, believe it or not, 85 laps in of 134 laps. We have been flag to flag, caution-free from the drop of the green. And now they set their sights for the money stop, or should be a hooligan finish on the way. Into the pits, It is still Dan West Jr. Also, Tidrick is in car number 72.
Chris White coming in.
Toward 4 Tires and Fuel. Here comes the Texas winner for last weekend, the pole car, the 7 car of Johnson. Remember, you mentioned he bounced off the wall a couple of laps ago. He's now going to have service and repairs done on his car while he takes on 4 Tires and Sunoco Fuel. A lot of plans being done now on Chris White. He'll come to pit stall, to his pit stall, and drop all the way back to the top 6 at pit stall 1. The pole car going in, 4 Tires, tear off the windshield, track bar and a wedge. Fill that tank up with Sunoco Racing Fuel. Anderson, the leader, comes down pit lane. Joshua Marcy comes down pit road. Now Sean Brightsman will cycle back around as the leader. And oh, by the way, Seth Frazier is going to bump back up to, he's currently in 8th. He's about to pass all these other cars and climb inside the top 5, gentlemen. Joshua Marcy on pit lane. Everybody doing what they said they were going to do, but pitting probably a little bit earlier than planned because of what Seth Frazier did in 32.
Indeed, especially with the potential wide margin. Thank you very much, as Dan Lowther now once again comes in towards your direction, Wesley. It's very busy right now.
Oh yeah, here comes Dan Lowther. Again, we mentioned his little hiccup at the first part of the race, if you will, when he spun on the bottom of the apron, thought he was going to put the car down below the blend line, but he's had no harm, no foul. A good run for car number 63, Dan Lowther. He's improving. One car crashes into the pit lane wall. That's the purple and yellow car with an issue. Dan Stuzzi has said, I've had enough. He crashes entering pit road, and he will now call the exit out of the race. As here comes Carl Burke in car number 53. He'll give up a top 5 run on the racetrack. He'll have on Tires and Fuel as well. And climbing that scoring pylon, Brightsman hasn't pitted. Audenbacher hasn't pitted. Paulison hasn't pitted. And guess what, Justin and Greg? When they pit, Seth Frazier will go back to P1.
Thank you very much. But just as you were finishing that report, trouble for BJ Tidrick. Wobbled up the track down the back straightaway, slammed it hard, slid in the grass, and now he's got damage in the whole right side of the race car. Not what Tidrick wanted to see, losing several positions as a result, Greg.
He's going to be pinned a lap down, and he is in trouble, Justin. A lot of damage on the right side of the 72.
See if we can take a look at what happened with the 72 machine once again. You see right there, just slams the wall just as he was pushing up the racetrack as he was trying to exit the corner.
And who was that who just barely squeaked by there
Marcy.
as Tidrick slammed down? That was Marcy, who's been in the top 5 all day.
That could have been disastrous for Marcy. And we stay green despite that. As Daryl Tidrick gives him the space, Tidrick has not come into pit. Daryl, respectively, I should say. Chris Torres, Corey Walters, Paulison, Audenbacher, Brightsman, yet to pit as well. Daryl Tidrick just ducked down this time by. So, now it becomes the long card game for Brightsman, Audenbacher, and Paulison, potentially for the track position here. Will we still stay green is the question, Greg, because we have never in this series' history so far had a race go green flag to checkered.
And we have come close to caution a couple of times here. So, with that being said, these drivers got to be thinking, is there going to be a caution? Brightsman sliding up, Marcy in the wall. And down to the apron, Brightsman hanging on. That could have been it right there as Marcy slid up into the wall as Brightsman was sliding. And I think Brightsman has to come in now with some damage repair.
Hey, Justin, I just got a word on the number 72, BJ Tidrick, and he is not happy. A lot of expletives being used, if I cannot say in the broadcast professionally, but he did call somebody in the 00 a Gomer. Gomer Smith, a.k.a. Kevin Smith, turned into him on turn number 4, made him lose control, hit the wall, and then amongst all of that, it just made him hit the wall again in turn number 2. So he is not happy with the driver, the 00, Kevin Smith, calling him Gomer, and currently he is 4 laps down.
Tempers are flaring. Indeed, tonight.
That is the most BJ Tidrick response I have ever heard.
Oh boy. Tidrick's in 10th, by the way.
I was trying to keep it PG-13, fellas.
Should note, Sean, you said Sean Brightsman is known for the strategy card. He's still on the racetrack. Paulison just backed out of that, Wesley.
Yeah, here comes Paulison on the pit lane. He's going to take that Jim Beam car to the pits, the number 3 car of Randy Goins is also in the pits for service on his machine. 58 and 3, 4 tires fuel. Here comes Goins. He'll exit off the pit lane. 2 tires on for the right side, now the left side for the driver of Stephen Paulison. He'll add now a splash of that Sunoco fuel. He'll be ready to take this to the finish for the final under 40 laps to go here at Chicagoland. Guys, can you believe it? I told you, I talked about a long green flag run. I just didn't think it was going to be this long.
Again, we have not had a race so far go green flag to checkered on an oval. There are no caution flags on the road courses. This is a chance for series history tonight. But still, the drivers trying the strategy car. Sean Brightsman, that's it, who are on the lead lap. Everybody else is a lap down who have not yet to pit. And Corey Walters, BJ Tidrick is still in 8th behind those cars. Chris Torres also yet to pit, as well as Chris Walters. By the way, Seth Frazier passed by Dan West Jr. much quicker this time.
Yeah, West Jr. was able to slice and dice up and get around Frazier, and he's already opened up a second lead over Frazier. Lap traffic ahead of him, it's Rodney Goins in the number 3. This is all going on 15 seconds behind Sean Brightsman. Brightsman's going to have to pit here again, Justin. He's just hoping to catch a caution, but he almost was the caution about 8 laps ago.
Currently in the net race lead. Remember, Brightsman needs to pit to make it on field to the end. Coming to 36 to go this time. So at this point, do you just try and keep it on the racetrack if you're a Brightsman for as long as you can?
As long as you possibly can, and hope you catch a caution, because it's been long enough now. If you catch a caution, everybody's got to pit.
Hey guys, Sean Brightsman leader in 46. He's going to pit around lap 105, 107. That's when he says he's coming to the pit lane within the next 10 laps.
So right towards the end of the field mark. Thank you very much, Leslie, on that information. So that puts it right towards the edge of the fuel tank. He does have the cushion to keep the lead until then if there was trouble, but still, this will put him deep down the running order, but with the freshest tires on the track.
Deep in the running order, but fresh tires on track. Justin, there's only 6 cars on the lead lap. He could realistically still blend in around 7th or so. And remember, the 7th place car, BJ Tidrick, has a lot of right side damage now, and he's not too happy with another driver like he mentioned a few moments ago. So Brightsman into number 46 just caught a cloud as well. That can help a little bit because the track temperature is going to go down a little bit here. It's down to 104 after being 111 earlier. So the cooler track temp will just help that much with Brightsman being able to keep a little bit of a gap here. See if he can, or we'll see where he blends in when he pits if he doesn't catch a caution.
Yeah, this might actually help him have enough tire wear, I should rather say, once he does come and duck down, and 5 laps is now that mark. That would mean a 29 lap run to the finish on his current strategy or so. He is getting reeled in, should note, by about half a second to 0.6 a lap by West Jr. and Frazier. Well, as well as Caden Anderson, who is about 4 seconds back of that, who is on 4 lap fresher tires than Frazier and 2 lap fresher tires than Dan West Jr. on the racetrack. So, in other words, various different strategies coming into play. Although Dan West Jr., he's not having fun right now because the whole traffic jam has just joined him.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, he's in the hornet's nest. He was around all these guys, and Smith and Ottenbach were able to get by Carl Burke as well. So that's going to cost West Jr. some time being up in that traffic jam right there with just about everybody up there. As Burke settling things down now, Frazier is trucking along still. Anderson 2 seconds back of this. He's in a little bit of a hornet's nest as well. He's got some traffic in front of him, behind him, all around him. In 4th position, then it's a little bit back to Chris White up in the top 5 still. So these guys being up in lap traffic like this, having to slice and dice and use up their tires, who's that helping? The 46 of Brightsman. They're not gaining on him. He's going to have that much more of a buffer when he comes in. It'll be that much less ground he loses when he comes in on pit road. We can expect him here in a couple laps.
One of the drivers who was trying to come in, should note, was Corey Walters. He missed the pit lane and still has to come down in air time. He will come down this time by the 9 as Chris Walters Down to the apron on the racetrack. He also needs to pit this time by for fuel. The 9 and the 51 coming to Wesley.
So Walters and Walters coming down to the pit lane, the 9 and the 51. Getting ready to have service done. One had a good run running inside the top 10 was Corey Walters. The 51 of the other Walters has struggled throughout the race and still miring him back. 9 goes to his pit stall further up pit lane than the 51. The 51 of Walters already in his pit stall, and here comes the leader, Sean Brightsman on the pit lane. I said lap 104, gentlemen. I called it. Here comes Sean Brightsman. He had to pit. He said he had no choice in the matter. Guess who that gives the lead to? His teammate of Dan West Jr. in 55. And guess who's behind him? 1.5 seconds back, and as West is mired by lap traffic, Seth Frazier licking his chops, ready to pounce like a coiled cobra on the man in the car number 55. While that goes on, Frazier into his pit stall, I'm sorry, Brightsman into his pit stall. He's now on pit exit. He will stay, Greg, you said somewhere within the top 8. That's where he'll be in 7 as he's ready to bring this to the finish under 30 to go.
Saw BJ Tidrick squeak by just as he came off pit road, but remember, he's got the damage. So Justin, does Brightsman have enough time if we stay green? I don't think he does. I think he's going to need a caution.
He's going to need a caution, absolutely. He is nearly a full lap behind the race leaders, by the way, 28 seconds or so. Just in front of John Audenbacher, as you see on the screen. Remember, the lap time's about 31 seconds, so just stayed on the lead lap barely with this call. Right in behind just about is Dan West Jr. on the racetrack. So, we'll have to see how this all plays out. Keep in mind, Caden Anderson is coming in quick as well, Greg. He's got a bit fresher tires, and he's now cut it to about 2.2 seconds to the lead.
He can sniff the back end of Seth Frazier right now, as he is about 0.8 of a second last time by on Seth Frazier right now, trying to reel it in. It's going to be less this time. We'll see what it is at the line. He cuts it down to half a second. Caden Anderson is on a mission right now. Justin, I can't remember how much fresher are Anderson's tires opposed to West Jr. I can't remember.
Two laps, just 2, Red.
All right, so
4 between Anderson and Frazier.
And we're seeing what that 4-lap difference has on Anderson and Frazier right now, as he's able to slice and dice up, close in more. But the question is, when he gets there, is that 2-lap difference enough to catch up to West Jr.?
Should note that the 99 and the 51 had to come down a second time to serve respective penalties for speeding. Walters, with the longer penalty, also elected to put on fresher tires in that service. Torres, the shorter penalty, but still took tires as well. He is still trying to get on the racetrack around these cars at the moment, just up the road. So in other words, things are about to get even more dicey, because that also, by the way, held up Dan West Jr. by an extra couple of tenths of a second, because Torres weeble wobbled off the apron in 3.
And the lap before, West and Frazier were even lap times, so it almost feels like West Jr.'s tire advantage is gone over Frazier. So I'm wondering now what's going to happen the rest of the way, or was West kind of just playing it conservative there, knowing he was coming up on lap traffic? The gap shrunk a little bit between Frazier and West, but the gap has gone away and is gone because Anderson has gotten around Frazier, moved Caden Anderson to second.
And Anderson is coming about a tenth or 2 a lap each time by, 23 to go this time by. Couple lap cars separate him and the race leader. Dan West Jr. is right in front of the 99 machine once more in Torres. Then there's Carl Burke in front of him. Other than that, clean racetrack, and just like that, nothing separates them. In fact, that will hurt West Jr. again. More time lost because he had to let by a car on fresher tires again, Greg.
0.2 of a second was what it cost West Jr. there, Justin. So now the question is, what can Anderson do with West being mired in some traffic? He's got 2 cars directly in front of him and then a couple further up, and he's losing ground to Torres, who has a little bit fresher tires than he does, but he's going to be able to get around Carl Burke this time, I thought. Yes, he will. So now, just like that, Anderson has some lap traffic in between him, but Anderson does have slightly fresher tires. He shaved a tenth off that time.
31.512 for Anderson, 31.578 for Dan West Jr. Coming up to 21 to go, all green so far tonight. Will West Jr. add to his victory total, or will Anderson become a multi-time winner? Still have to wait and see, as an additional car having to duck down to the pit lane in Hagen. We still continue to rumble on. By the way, for those curious on Sean Brightsman, he is within range to get to at least 5th and is running about 1.6 seconds quicker than the rest of the field.
19 seconds between Brightsman and West Jr. 20 laps to go. If that pace continues, he can make it up to West Jr., but he's got to keep that pace going for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and again, the problem, he'll have the equalization point fairly soon, in about 15 laps or so. Might get within under 10 seconds, we'll have to see. It's under 1.3 seconds between Anderson and West Jr., though, by the way. Very similar throttle points for each of them. It's just, again, the difference in the tires. The problem is, though, Greg, will they equalize before Anderson gets there?
And that's exactly what Dan West Jr. is wanting to happen, because he knows Anderson has those fresher tires. 2-lap differential. That is very much in the realm of possibility for them to equalize before we get to the end here. It's another 1/10 of a second gone. Anderson 1.1 back at the line now. And now he's got to deal with some lap traffic in Carl Burks. So Anderson going to have to pick his moment here to get around the slower traffic.
Can't afford to get held up by Carl Burke, the first car a lap down in 10th position. That's how much the pace has picked up, and that's how many laps have been run. Burke giving the space this time on the top line. He's told Anderson on the radio. There it is right there. A little bit tougher, though, not able to go all the way up to the wall. Hurts him a little bit.
Yeah, if you ended up that close to the wall, your car's going to start doing the weeble wobble, like Wesley likes to say, and kind of get up towards the wall. So he has to be careful there with these old tires to not put himself in position to have himself hit the wall, and not just ruin his day. He's in a position where that could ruin the guy in second and even third's day, as Seth Frazier's there as well.
Hey, Greg, you mean a wobble and a giggle and a bobble and a jiggle?
That, yes.
Drivers trying to hold those giggles and jiggles until the end of the race. The top three separate by 2.3 seconds now. Brightsman, by the way, is already caught up to Marcy, who is falling off an extra couple tenths of a second a lap. So Brightsman is now back in the top 5 in the 46 machine, by the way.
Trying to reel in now. Chris White, the 83, would be next up for Brightsman. He's 9 seconds behind him, trying to get up on Daryl Tidrick right now in the 45, who is a lap down in the number 45.
Oh, trouble! Race leader Ronnie Goines just hit Dan West Jr. Crashing 1 and 2.
We stay green.
Unbelievable. Ronnie Goines in the number 3, and the caution is out.
Oh my goodness, this changes everything.
Wow.
West Jr. wanted a caution, did not want to be the caution.
Rodney Goines was on the apron after making a mistake on the apron and came right up the racetrack into your race leader in the midst of the arc. West Jr. slammed into the wall, and this brings out the first caution of the night.
Saw the second half there on the LSR TV replay. See if we can back it up just a little bit more to see what started that. Here you see Goins in the 3. Unbelievable.
I don't know, guys, but it sounds like Dan West is saying he lost it exiting off the corner, and then the 3 car was there.
Saw Anderson get through there.
And
wow, this changes the entire
look at
complexion.
That. There was apparently a second wreck on the backstretch you see there. That was BJ Tidrick with Smith again. And remember, the tempers flared amongst them right here. Tidrick hits the wall. Just so happens to be where the 00 is.
That's unfortunate. Oh, Paulson there as well.
Wow! Oh, guys, it is animated in the chat box right now. That's all I'm going to tell you. I don't know about what happened between the 3 and the leader, Dan West Jr., but the 72 at 00, Gomer had it coming.
Pit stops underway, Wesley, as this kind of just shook up every single part of this race.
Oh my goodness, ready to shake, rattle, and roll to the final 15 laps of this event. Caden Anderson, P1, he's in his pit stall. So did Frazier, he needed this pit stop. Chris White's in, Sean Breitzman is in, Joshua Marcy's in. Tendrick, even though he had some entry with interesting moments in the backstretch with Gomer, Kevin Smith, he's in pit lane. Here comes Dan West Jr. onto the pit lane. They're all going to pit race exit. Seth Frazier off pit road now. He's going to battle with Anderson. Breitzman ahead of everybody in the number 46. Breitzman enters pit road, and he will exit in P1. He was in the top 5, guys. This is going to shake things up a bit. And by the way, cautions, green cautions. We'll find out what happened with Dan West Jr. in just a minute.
Justin, I'm going to give you one guess as to what I think Sean Breitzman did.
2 tires?
That's what I'm thinking.
On that big of a split, though?
Hey, who knows? Maybe Wesley's right. Cautions could breed cautions here, and we're at the point now. You almost got what you got now from here on. Catch a couple cautions here, a couple cautions there. Laps tick away. Who knows?
And how big was that caution? There's only 10 cars in the lead lap, Wesley.
Hey, got two tires. You got it right. Sean Breitzman's survey says 2 tires and fuel. Everyone else taking on 4. And other cars in the pit lane include Johnson, Burke, Walters, Torres, Goins, Walters again. And no, I didn't repeat myself. There's 2 drivers named Walters, all coming in for service and work. 4 tires and fuel. But yes, Sean Breitzman, 2 tires, right side, fuel, ready to go to the finish. And Dan West Jr. is not happy with the number 3 of Randy Goins. He said lap traffic, and I quote, the D word got in my way just like a couple of weeks ago. I had nowhere to go. He should have known that the leaders were coming. Where's the flagman with the blue flag with a yellow stripe when you need it? Come on, Barney.
Unfortunate for him, absolutely. Cost him track position. He's now in 5th after pit stops. But Sean Breitzman, oh boy. We're talking about a 15-20 lap split? 15-20 lap split, yes. Could this be trouble? We'll have to see. Take a quick step aside. 12 to go, this time by the stripe. You're watching OSR TV, your home for sim racing for the Northwest Cup Series. Buckle up, folks. It's about to become a bumpy one.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
They say everything is bigger. These guys down in Texas aren't messing around. This feature race will separate the boys from the men, the girls from the ladies. Can you handle racing 300 laps for $25,000? It's not as easy as you think. We don't stop to tow those too weak. We just push them out of the way. We don't run 20 laps. We run 300 each night. We don't care about what you and your boys have under the hood. Bring all you got. Don't be scared. Call my Cowboy Jack today to get signed up. It all goes down on October 2nd and 3rd in Mesquite, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Kenny Wallace is coming back this year to try again. You don't have excuses. Go to LoneStar600.com now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chicagoland, and oh boy, this race just got interesting. After the longest green flag run of the season, a 2-crash situation popped up. Dan West Jr. had contact with the lap car of Ronnie Goins. That slammed West Jr. up into the wall. They both drifted and nearly spun around in turn 2. Then you had BJ Tidrick hit the wall and take Kevin Smith with him. The tempers flared all over the racetrack in that span of a run. End of longest line penalty, by the way, to Frank Harris as well to add to all the intrigue. Justin Prince, Greg Wentz, Wesley Upland in the pit road, Will Duvall in the director's seat. 10 laps to go, Greg. Your thoughts?
I don't think we've seen the last yellow. It is shootout time, and a driver on 2 tires up at the front. Mind you, Sean Brightsman, 2 tires. Rest of the field on 4. Dan West Jr. is still in the top 5. He's not done yet, Justin.
This is going to get very, very wild in a moment. Carl Burke, by the way, is out of the race. He was in 17th that past time by at the stripe. Pace car is off. And the first restart of the night, controlled by the Toyota Camry, to the green flag they go once more.
Brightsman kind of held on a little bit there, playing some games with Anderson. Anderson trying to get down in front of Frazier. He will just barely squeeze in as Frazier now looks high. They try to track down the 2-tire man. Brightsman made this call time and time again. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Down the backstretch, 10 to go.
And you want to be on the bottom. Seth Frazier doing exactly that underneath the Harvest Chevrolet. Looking for P2 once again. Chris White tries to fall behind. The bumps they go. Seth Frazier hit it hard. Here comes Chris White with the momentum though on the top.
And here comes Anderson after Brightsman got a great exit off turn number 4. Peaking high, runs out of room, but he's going to make it work. Anderson looking high for the lead.
Brightsman wiggles up the track. Caden Anderson with a crossover. He's been one of the quickest cars all night. The 37 machine to the inside for the race lead. In turn 3, Brightsman tries to squeeze. Anderson runs away. He's up to the race lead again as Frazier nearly hits the back of him. Here comes Dan West Jr. back for his lead.
Frazier caught the marbles. That's what cost him all that time. Is now Brightsman, West, and White all able to get around him. Ottenbacher up into the mix. Where did Ottenbacher come from? We've mentioned it maybe once tonight. Up in this mix.
And Ottenbacher just set the fastest lap of the race at 29.690 with this big draft. You're 3 wide down the back. Frazier tries to go middle. Brightsman ducks back in middle. Ottenbacher now cuts underneath Frazier. Frazier still stuck underneath the purple car of Brightsman. 3 wide. Oh, in the fight for the back end of the top 5 as Ottenbacher goes to the inside.
West trying to get a run on the outside now. They're still 3 wide. They almost get together. They don't. Caden Anderson is driving like everything he's got right now. Ottenbacher loose. He slides. Collinson and Marcy. They're coming up to join the fun.
Right now, that's about 6-7 on back. Chris White up to second, though. Here he goes for the race lead. The pole sitter wants to get up to the front again. He's been quick on the short runs tonight. The Ford Mustang, though, not able to get the pass done quite yet on Anderson with 6 to go.
And he lost a little bit of time getting the run again. West Jr. outside. We could see 3 wide for the lead. White with the slide. And that's going to cost him a little bit of time. Anderson goes on the touch.
Anderson gets turned. Chris White against the wall. West Jr. involved. Walters in it. And with about 5 laps to go, a massive crash involving 3 of your top drivers all day. Wow.
Frazier is going to be the first one for that. Your top 3 come together with 7 laps to go. 5 laps to go.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
An unbelievable instant. Take a look. They were really close to hitting each other in turn 2. It happened down the back, Greg.
They get together. West hit the wall, and unfortunately, Anderson was right there. And I don't know how the purple cars got through that, Justin. I don't know how Frazier and Brightsman made their way through that.
Here's one more look. You see the door right there, and West Jr. can't save it. Remember, had to use the fast repair because the contact from the race lead. He might be severely hampered for the rest of this one.
So top 3, Brightsman faking him out, trying to come to pit road there. Looked like he was thinking about pit road. We check back in live. Brightsman with a fake out. Couple drivers deep in the field coming down. We got Lowther coming down, and a couple others deep in the field. Seth Frazier, Sean Brightsman, Stephen Paulison, your top 3 now.
Their lane is open, guys, and here comes the drivers of Lowther and Harris and White. Chris White was the guy was more or less keeping an eye on the 83 car. He had such a good opportunity to try to win this race, and to be honest with you, if you look at the replay, as he will take a quick repair, take on 4 new tires and fuel to go to the finish, he kind of started this thing trying to battle alongside Dan West Jr. and then got involved in that accident. Also another driver, Caden Anderson. Whatever damage he has, guys, Anderson and Dan West Jr. are going to stay out and fight this thing to the finish. But again, Anderson has done, or excuse me, the number 83, Chris White, has done a quick repair. We'll see how that turns out under 5 laps to go here at Chicagoland.
We are in green light checker territory, by the way, expecting that trigger in just a couple laps or so. Lucky dog ended up being Joshua, pardon me, ended up being, I believe, BJ Tidrick. So the 72 is back in the lead lap. This is again about to get even more fun with him back in the lead lap. Rest of the drivers pinned 1 lap down or 2 down because that caution flag. Joshua Marcy also had to go direct into the pit lane. He blew his motor, Greg, and it looks like may not have that fast repair after so many green flag stints.
Won't have the fast repair. Lights are still on the pace car, working lap 132. So, Justin, we are going to go into overtime here with this one, as we will not be able to get green flag before the scheduled distance. We will go to overtime here at Chicagoland, and it's 2 purple cars up front. Seth Frazier, Sean Brightsman. Brightsman on 2 tires.
No.
Oh boy.
Pit stops, as you see, for the lap down cars, but this gets intriguing because I understand the reason for these drivers, especially for track position, but will they be able to hold on, especially Brightsman, because we've seen him nearly get freight train, Greg, in the span of 3 laps.
We'll see. He was hanging in there in that 6-car battle for the race lead, but man, oh man, just those 2 tires, man, I don't know if it's going to work out tonight, because now he's got to deal with not just Frazier getting around him, he's got Paulison, Ottenbacher up there as well. Walters is a lap down in the number 9. He's actually 2 laps down, so he's just in position for the wave around right now. It's Frazier, Brightsman, Paulison, Ottenbacher, Caden Anderson, your top 5. So not done yet are the likes of Anderson, West Jr., who took the fast repairs. Well, Anderson took the fast repair. West did not have a fast repair saved as a result of his previous incident, so he's going to have a long one here.
On the transponder is Wesley Owen. He's got in touch with your race leader.
Seth Frazier, first off, how in the world did you and Brightsman miss that wreck on the back straightaway?
Well, I just closed my eyes, so I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. You took 2 tires. This strategy, how do you think it's going to pay off for you? And does it help with going into overtime and only having a 2-lap shootout? And by the way, less amounts of laps to run as well.
Well, with this package, you're kind of sitting in the duck if you get too far out there, so it's kind of a tricky scenario. The last person you want to race against on 2 tires or old tires is Brightsman, so we'll see what happens.
What is your take of this race? 120 laps almost caution-free, and then craziness here in the final 24.
Well, you know, my fiance Janisa was nice enough to give me a man cave, but it's the only room in the house that doesn't have air conditioning. So right now it's pretty warm in here, and my computer's having a slight lag issue when I get around people, so it's kind of interesting on restarts.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's time to dig some holes and take some souls, as you say, virtually on that 32 car.
Thanks, guys.
That's again Seth Frazier, ladies and gentlemen. And again, he is ready to go to the house to put this in victory lane, Justin. It should be exciting to watch that car, number 32. And remember, he's only got 2 tires where everybody else has 4, and everybody else behind them came down to the pits and took on 4 tires, new rubber to boot.
Thank you, Wesley. To recap for this first green-white checkered attempt, Frazier, Brightsman, Paulison, Ottenbacher, your top 4. West Jr. and Anderson also stayed out under this caution period. The first drivers to pit are Frank Harris with one of his best runs all season after having so many stints of bad luck in the campaign, especially the first half of the season. Dan Lowther is up to 8th. Chris White, BJ Tidrick round out the top 10 on the racetrack on the lead lap. Everybody else 1, 2, 3 up to 6 laps down in this event. Again, for the race to be official, the drivers must take the white flag. If we get a caution before we get to the white, we'll have a second attempt. Caution before we get the white on the second attempt means we'll finish under said caution. White flag means we finish directly towards the checker. Pace car is off. Frazier off and away. We're back on our way. 2 laps to go at Chicagoland.
His biggest advantage for Frazier is going to be hoping that the 46 can get down in front of Paulson and have them held up just long enough as he goes into turn number 1. Kind of getting his wishes. Brightsman side by side with Paulson right now. Anderson already up to 4th in the 37.
Anderson, remember, was very quick before he made that mistake up towards the front of the battle for the race lead. Still fighting for second. Side by side, Brightsman wobbles up the track. Might get the chance to get the run. Paulson, though, has the shortcut. White flag up in the air. 1 lap to go from Chicagoland as we're 3 wide for second.
Anderson with a big move to the inside. Look at Dan Lowther, the 63. Paulson and Brightsman get together. 3 wide for third now. Can Dan Lowther steal a podium here? Drag race down the backstretch.
Looking for his best finish of the season. Chris White now back in the fight. On a bit of the fresher tires. Lowther also on fresher tires. Anderson makes the block. Frazier tries to hold on. Final straightaway. Checker flag waves, and Seth Frazier wins it at Chicagoland. Anderson second. Lowther, White, Paulson round out the top 5 in a wacky race.
Wild one and a big one here for Seth Frazier. Win number 4 on the season. Holds off a hard-charging Caden Anderson, and Dan Lowther out of nowhere. He was having connection issues all week. He just finished 3rd.
Yeah, that's his highest finish of the season, Greg. Unbelievable. As Seth Frazier, you can take the gas off the pedal, man. He is still in the grass, ready to celebrate. Unbelievable finish tonight.
He wanted that one, Justin. Big one here for Seth Frazier. 4th win on the season. Started 10th, finishes 1st. He's burning it down, but you know what's next, as they all like to celebrate here on the front stretch. Justin, let's take him through the finishing order.
Yes, indeed. I believe he's about to get that celebratory party in just a moment or so. Caden Anderson charged up from 6th to 2nd. 1 last lap, and he may have had a shot. Either way, finishes under a tenth of a second behind in second. Dan Lowther, where the heck did he come from? Fresher tires helped propel him all the way up to 3rd. His best finish all season. And what has been a rocky one for the 63, beating Chris White, Stephen Paulson, rounding out your top 5. Sean Brightsman falls to 6th, John Audenbacher in 7th, Frank Harris 8th, BJ Tidrick in 9th, and the man you seen missing the first attempt for the celebratory party was Dan West Jr.
Not missing is Daryl Tidrick, who finishes in 11th position. Brett Johnson 12th. Corey Walters 13th. Chris Torres 14th. Kevin Smith, not the day he wanted. 00 comes home 15th. Rodney Goins 16th. Jeff Hagan in the 27 had a rough day, finishes 17th. Then you got Chris Walters. Josh Marcy, who is so strong once again. I think he's going to be the next one to break through for that first win. Unfortunately, it doesn't come tonight. 19th. Carl Burke rounds out the top 20. Rounding out the field in this one, Dan Stussy, Roy Grande, Bruce Weaver, Ricky Bozer, Josh Childress round out the 25 cars that took the green flag. Ray Fournier, Casey Garber, Scott Hutchinson did not start.
An eventful one tonight here on LSR TV. The longest green flag run of the season ends with one of the most exciting finishes of the campaign, with several different players throughout the night. What a race, and the celebration's not over, even for the battles for 2nd to 11th. Take a quick step aside. You're watching LSR TV. Stick around. The Clan Awards post-race show is coming up from the Windy City.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom t-shirts, racing. We'll do actually any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized, I mean, we'll do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything, hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. 'Cause we do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees at yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chicagoland for the Clan Wars post-race show. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. It was an eventful one tonight, where in the end, 2 caution flags was what we seen this evening. It came down to a GWC, but Seth Frazier came home with the victory, what is his 4th of the season. Seth Frazier, I believe, is standing by from victory lane after what was an eventful finish, played the strategy game early, looked like it wasn't going to work, then the caution flag started waving. Seth, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Seth Frazier, first things first, 4th victory of the season. How are you feeling?
I'm pretty wiped out. Plus, I'm got a good buzz going from all these better lights, so feeling all right.
Okay, as that buzz continues, let's talk about what's buzzing through your mind after especially the longest run of the season under green flag conditions. Then it turned into a hectic finish.
Well, early on in the race, I knew I had probably a 3rd or 4th place car about where I figured it. I don't think I had much for Caden or Dan. Chris Wright was pretty fast tonight too on a long run. So I tried to roll the dice and get off sequence with everybody else. So I tried to short pit, hoping that between lap like 90 and 110 there'd be a caution. It still kind of played out my favor a little bit. I think it was poised to be a really good finish between Dan and Caden. They were getting ready to duke it out. It would have been fun to watch from my perspective. But fortunately, we had a caution there and gave me a chance.
Next race on the campaign goes to Auto Club. Your thoughts on going back to the 2-milers?
Oh, with this package, it'd be pretty crazy with a 3-wide and 4-wide passing. So this package, at first I wasn't a big fan of it. The more we race this package, it's pretty interesting to use different strategy and use the draft to our advantage. It's pretty fun.
Anyone you want to thank on the number 32 machine tonight?
I just want to thank Paul Bear for bringing his funeral parlor on board and sponsoring me all year. And, you guys put on the show. My buddy Mike Wood out there watching, Aunt Kathy out there watching. If anybody's still looking for a date, Greg Rentz, the announcer on here, he's got a good voice, not good looks, but he makes up with personality. So he is looking for a date.
Bite me.
Seth Frazier, your race winner. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Again, that was Seth Frazier, number 32 machine, coming away with the victory tonight, just ahead of Caden Anderson, who's standing by with Wesley.
Caden Anderson, runner-up in this event, car number 37. Coming back after the accident with under 5 laps to go. First off, let's talk about it. What's your take of what happened in redeeming yourself to come back in, change tires, shake off the cobwebs, dust yourself off, and get a runner-up finish in the deal?
Yeah.
By not pitting, actually. You didn't pit, correction.
Yeah, I didn't pit. I don't know what happened there on the backstretch, but, with racing, we're all racing for the lead. We decided not to pit and stick it out and try to finish the best we could and got up to second. But it's a good point tonight for sure. I'm trying to make it into the top 16 to run for the championship this year.
Yeah, I know you won a race. You got one race, one win, and then you're trying to do everything you can again to get in that top 16 points cutoff. What is that like, being in the lead and then all of a sudden your turn?
It's definitely rough. It's heart-wrenching, but you just got to overcome and finish the race out.
What's your take of the race tonight?
It was really long. I'm glad we had a green flag run there to show our speed there at the long run. Um, Overall, I think it was a good race.
A good run for the driver, the number 37. Sponsors on Caden Anderson's car.
Harvest Chevrolet and Custom Fab.
All right, there's Caden Anderson, runner-up here tonight at Chicagoland. He'll get ready to go to Auto Club next Monday. Now to third-place finisher, and that is the driver with probably the best overall finish in his career on the podium for the first time. Dan Lowther in car 63 is with our colleague, Greg Rentz.
And Dan, top 3 here tonight. First top 5 of the season for you in the Cup Series. Not bad for spotty internet connection.
Most people may not know, but I was actually running off my mobile hotspot on my cell phone to get this race in because I just moved and my new internet's not hooked up.
And tell us about the course of the race, because you had a couple interesting moments. You had a car hit the wall right in front of you early on, but you did a great job keeping it clean. And then what set you up there for that last restart?
Yeah, so throughout the race, I was just trying to play a little bit of fuel strategy game and tire management, and was stuck in that 10th to 12th place position. And then I lost that lap, and we got the caution with 20 to go, and I figured I had nothing to lose. I had enough fuel to make it to the end, so I might as well just stay out, get a wave around, and get back on the lead lap and maybe make something work. And then obviously with the second caution there right at the end, I knew the leaders weren't going to pit, and I was on the lead lap, so I took fresh tires to put me in a position to maybe, get up there and get this first podium.
Dan, it was a definite big one here for you tonight. And Thursday night, right back here on LSR TV, hopefully with the new internet, as you've told me earlier in the week that you're hoping to have it set up tomorrow, heading back here in the trucks. And you really like the truck series because you really think you've got some good setups here in the truck series. So perhaps a chance to get another podium this Thursday and have some good weeks.
Yeah, that's the goal with the trucks. I really enjoy driving the trucks, and I enjoy being able to set those things up. And I've been getting better and better on setup with some help from the guys in the club and some guys here on TeamSpeak, kind of my teammates, I guess, so to speak, that have helped me out and get my trucks better and better. So hopefully I can get a podium on Thursday also.
Oh, it's your first podium of the season. A first chance to thank who you got on LSR TV. Who's your shout-outs?
Rookie class is 79 and Friends. They're a charity that helps injured motorcycle riders across the country that race professionally, and they help me with my injuries, this spring and stuff. So got to really thank those guys. And then obviously the whole LSR crew for broadcast, and then all the guys on TeamSpeak that helped me out.
All right, that's third place. Dan Lowther, first top 5 of the season. It's a third. Looking for a couple more Thursday. Congrats, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
Once again, I'd like to thank Dan Lowther along with Katie Anderson and Seth Frazier for taking this time to speak with us once again. By the way, those drivers, many of them teammates with Team Ramrod and that organization. Wesley, first things first, your final thoughts after what started off as the longest run of the season in green flag conditions and turned into what was one of the most eventful finishes of the season.
Oh, my goodness, man. I'm telling you, I was looking to see history being made with everybody going for a green flag, run to the checkered flag, flag to flag. But then that craziness happened, that crazy scenarios. You start bunching everybody together. You start putting lap cars around lead lap cars, and you see that crazy shenanigans take place in the home stretch. And then it set ourselves up for quite an eventful appetite of excitement virtually. We had a good show here, esports style, for iRacing and for the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. Big props on the win going to Seth Frazier. And again, only taking 2 tires. The gamble paid off. Like Greg said, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but the gamble does work again for his 5th win on the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. The trucks will be here on Thursday night. Greg Rentz and myself will be on the broadcast call in the booth for LSR TV. It should be a good one. And for all you other people of this great program that we love every Monday night, midnight for me, we will see you at Auto Club Speedway around California time.
Yeah.
Next week.
Believe so, as well as tracks such as Kentucky coming up. Your thoughts on the upcoming races as well here, Greg?
I'm excited, Justin. This is the last mile and a half of the regular season. Some very unique racetracks coming up. No two tracks alike from here on for the regular season. Auto Club next week. We're going to see some 5, maybe some 6 wide action. We saw that earlier in the year when they were there. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Some eventful races coming up in the calendar as well. North Wilkesboro amongst them, as well as track like Pocono. The Daytona Road Course, by the way, now taking the spot of Sonoma, Talladega amongst those upcoming campaigns. Remember, this stretch of races continuing all the way until the Labor Day break on September 7th, then 2 races back-to-back on September 14th, 21st. Postseason starts all the way in October. But an eventful one tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series, live from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. Once again, for my fellow co-workers and broadcast partners tonight, Woody Ball in the director's seat, Wesley Outland in the pit lane, Greg Rentz with me in the booth. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Congratulations to Seth Frazier on the victory. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing. We'll see you Thursday for more Northwest Racing Series action.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.